So the theme to Space Patrol, and maybe just a great way of introducing Bob Johnson, who is with Bay Area Film Events, and next Saturday night over at the Ball Theater in San Leandro is going to be a Horror Hall of Fame Award and Psychotronic film show. So good morning, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
So talk a little bit about next week's show at the Ball Theater, the Horror Hall of Fame and the Psychotronic film show.
Well, basically, I think listeners to KFJC and the Norman Bates Memorial Soundtrack Show are probably familiar with Psychotronic shows, although this one is a little different. It's still, we've got Sci-Fi Bob Ekman running 16-millimeter film of commercials, trailers, cartoons, scope tones, the regular lineup, but we're also paying tribute to local horror movie hosts. So interspersed between all the 16-millimeter film is going to be video clips from Creepy Coffee Movie Time, Creature Features, Lord Bloodrah, even some of our old Bay Area Film Event shows. And just trying to, it's almost like the show's not planned. It's like whatever gets up on the screen, gets up on the screen. So I think as the audience reacts to the various clips, then I'm sure Bob will put more of those on. If they don't react to a clip, then he'll probably move to something else. But so it's kind of a fluid show, and I think the audience is going to kind of decide the direction of it. But because it's we're giving out the Bay Area Horror Hall of Fame award, the clips are going to slant obviously a little more towards the horror sci-fi type of clips. But it should be a lot of fun, and we'll have some horror hosts in the house. John Stanley will be there. Lord Bloodrah will be there. Mr. Lobo actually moved to Virginia, so he's going to Skype in to say hello to everybody. So it should be a lot of fun.
So why is it that it seems like the Bay Area has a ton of horror hosts? What do you think the reason for that is?
Well, I think it kind of goes in cycles, because for a while there, Cleveland had all the horror hosts. And then we kind of caught up, I think maybe passed up a little bit. And since Lobo moved to Virginia, he was saying that's like a hotbed for horror hosts now. But I think here, a lot of it probably has to do with the influence of Bob Wilkins. And, because of Bob Wilkins, Lobo got into things. You've got Will Viharo started hosting Thrillville here. And, we kind of came in a little bit after that, but, obviously John Stanley took over for Bob Wilkins, so Channel 20 became independent. They decided to have a horror host show, and they brought on Creepy Coffee Movie Time. So really it's like still alive, both on TV and live in the theaters presenting films. And also cable access has given a lot of hosts their start, and also some are strictly internet, YouTube, and things like that. So I think it's really a lot easier these days for horror hosts, if they're wanting to get on the air, is to get up somewhere, whether it's the internet or live or on TV.
So probably for the 3 or 4 people who are listening that don't know who Bob Wilkins is, maybe you can give a brief background of Bob Wilkins and Creature Features.
Well, for us old-timers growing up here in the Bay Area, back in the 70s into about the mid-'80s, Channel 2 had Creature Features, and every Saturday night, and for a while Fridays and Saturdays, they would show horror films. And what it basically was they would get a package of, say, The Maltese Falcon and Casablanca, and then as part of the package, there'd be some B-horror movie thrown in. So they had these collections of B-horror films, so they asked Bob Wilkins, hey, you want to get on the air and host this stuff? He actually started doing that in Sacramento, and then he came here to Oakland to Channel 2. And, unlike most of the other horror hosts who would throw on the ghoulish makeup and go crazy on the air, Bob Wilkins was more subdued. He was just sitting there in a suit with his glasses and a cigar on a sort of a horror mansion type set, and just talk to you straight up about the movie. Sometimes he'd even say, this movie stinks, and he'd pull out the TV guide and read what was on the other channels, what your other options were. Sometimes he would straight out tell you, just go to bed, it's not worth it. But other times, as the years went on, they started picking up the Universal packages and the Hammer films and things like that, and, the films got a lot better. And, people my age, we kind of grew up. That's how we kind of got into all the horror stuff and science fiction and all that was through Bob Wilkins, because back then you didn't have the internet. So, you're kind of a little more isolated in the world. So to see Bob Wilkins come on the air and talk about the stuff, you weren't quite alone anymore. And because it was live, you couldn't record it or DVR it or time shift it. You'd have to watch it when it was on, which means you'd go back to school on Monday and talk to all the other kids. Hey, did you watch Night of the Living Dead on Creature Feature Saturday? Oh, yeah, we saw that. And so it's sort of more of like a community type thing. And then Bob would, of course, tell you about whatever events are coming up, Star Trek conventions or comic book conventions or movie screenings or what have you. So, it was sort of like a communal event. And he did that up until about 1980. And John Stanley took over for about 4 or 5 years after that.
The nice thing about horror hosts is that it's mostly local. I mean, if we think of, if you go through the list here of the Nerve-Wracking Theater with Lord Bloodraw and that creepy coffee movie time, the Thrillville, and these are all in our own backyard.
They are, and again, it's a lot of fun. Like with Thrillville, a lot of us that are doing the Bay Area Film Event stuff and all that today, a lot of us met through Thrillville. We go to shows there, and when I kind of started cooking up the whole idea of Bay Area Film Events, there were like 3 or 4 of us there at Thrillville, and we were talking, and it's like we had also gone to shows at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood, and the shows were totally different. Will and Monica would be yucking it up on stage and having fun and spinning the wheels and giving out prizes. And then down at the Egyptian, they'd be very, very serious about the films. The films were all art. And, so we thought, man, there must be some kind of middle ground maybe we could fit into where we still, have the respect and take the film seriously, but also have some fun. And then since a couple of us were in the audiovisual business, and we thought, well, that's kind of what we do. So we can put on, some extra stuff, see whether it's a stage show or, whatever other enhancements that we can do for that. And so basically, it's like Creature Features gives birth to, Cinema Insomnia and Thrillville, and they give birth to Bay Area Film Events, and, maybe we'll give birth to someone else. And I think there's a ton of shows going on around the Bay Area, whether it's like Peaches Christ in San Francisco, or, the Parkway, or not the Parkway, but the new Parkway. They're still doing a Thrillville now, but since Will's moving out of the area, Lord Bloodred took that over. And there's a lot of, like I say, there's things going on in the South Bay at the Camera Cinemas, and also at, I guess the Cinedome closed down. They moved somewhere else, but yeah, there's shows like all over the Bay Area. So everyone's trying to find their piece or their niche.
Well, we're speaking with Bob Johnson this morning. He runs Bay Area Film Events, and their website is bayareafilmevents.com. And they'll be hosting next Saturday night at the San Leandro Ball Theater, BAL Theater, the Horror Hall of Fame Award and Psychotronic Film Show. And it's from 7 to 11, and there'll be Sci-Fi Bob from Psychotronic fame, showing lots of different fun clips and commercials as you've experienced in different Psychotronics, and also then bits and pieces from all of the local different horror hosts. And so there's Creepy Coffee Time movie, and there's actually Miss Misery, who started Movie Massacre at Chabot College, and she does a show every Saturday night from 9 to 11. Although you have to be on the cable packages in the East Bay to get those, you can also go to chabotcollege.edu and stream it. So there's lots of different ways that people are getting the word out about being a horror host. Is that right, Bob?
Oh, definitely. And, everybody gets nostalgic for the past, but really it's kind of a fun time to be here now because, because there is so much of it. And the horror hosts are all across the country, really. And sometimes they creep in from other areas. I mean, if you watch Me TV, I think it's like 20.2 on Saturday nights. Sven Gulli is on. And the Ghoul was here for a little while from Cleveland back in the 70s. And quite a few, every once in a while. I think, Elvira was on Channel 20 for a while. So, they all kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. I know Lobo's been, Cinema Insomnia hasn't been on here for a while, but it's still being shown and syndicated in various parts of the country and being streamed. So there's definitely many ways to get your horror host fix.
So how did you get involved in Bay Area film events? What attracted you to doing this kind of stuff?
Well, we always loved doing the movie stuff and watching the movies, being involved with them. And, I told a little story about how we kind of met up at Thrillville and tried to find our niche there. And, the main first show we wanted to do, and this was back in 2004, so we've been doing this for like 10 years now, is we wanted to do Godzilla Fest. And we did a little warm-up show over at Auctions by the Bay in Alameda, which was the Dynamation celebration where we showed Seventh Voyage of Sinbad and 20 Million Miles to Earth, and had a bunch of local sci-fi guys, special effects guys there, talking about their influences from Ray Harryhausen. And then the second show was really our biggest. I mean, Godzilla Fest over at the Castro Theater, we had like 20 Godzilla films in 7 days, and 3 guests from Japan, and Russ Tamlin and a couple guests from L.A., and Bob Wilkins and John Stanley were there, and it was just a massive undertaking. And then we've just been kind of branching off and doing shows since then. It's kind of like whatever whim hits us at the time. We've done the Beatles shows, we've done creature feature shows, we've done James Bond, Ray Harryhausen, of course.
But you did the Jumbotron shows at Pac Bell Park.
Yeah, actually we did 2 shows with the San Francisco Giants, where John Stanley hosted, and we showed a movie after the baseball game up on the big screen. The first one, we had Judith O'Dea as a guest and showed Night of the Living Dead on the big screen. And the second one was Creature from the Black Lagoon. And then they won the World Series and got too big for us. So maybe we'll have to go over and work for the A's or something.
They didn't need monsters anymore. They had monster bats.
Well, they started coming up with all their own events, packages, and whatever. So I kind of want to think that their Star Wars night was kind of influenced by what we did over there, because they do kind of the same thing that we did. So yeah, hopefully we left our mark on the San Francisco Giants. But again, being 10 years now, and the 2004 was the 50th anniversary of Godzilla. This year is the 60th anniversary with the new film coming out and all different products. So we are doing another Godzilla show coming up in end of June. So we'll be, I'm sure, talking about that after we get through with the Psychotronic show. We may talk about a little of it, maybe preview a little bit at the Psychotronic show.
So the Horror Hall of Fame Award and the Psychotronic Film Show happening next Saturday night at 7 p.m. at the Ball Theater, BAL Theater in San Leandro. It's on East 14th Street, and you can go to Bay Area Film Events to find out more about it. There'll be lots of cool Psychotronic films shown, as well as a Horror Hall of Fame Award being given, and the previous winners were Sci-Fi Bob and Tom Wersch.
Yeah, and this year, I can't say who it is. It's a total surprise, especially to the person we're giving it to. But I will say he's a local legend, and you guys aren't going to want to miss it, because we got some cool things lined up to pay tribute to him and present the award. So, like I say, you'll definitely want to be there, see who it is, see who gets it, and show the love for the local legend.
So what kind of people get involved with horror film and the sort of the sphere that happens around the horror host? What kind of people and personalities are there?
It's really all kinds. I mean, if you look at at the different, well, like I mentioned, Bob Wilkins was very subdued. He wasn't even into horror films when he first took over. And he sort of learned as he went. John Stanley was actually one of his consultants, I guess you'd say. John Stanley would like feed him information on the films and things, along with Bob Shaw. And then you got Mr. Lobo was kind of into prop comedy. And as he met, I think he hosted a show with Bob Wilkins over at Harlow's in Sacramento. And that kind of stirred him in towards the horror stuff. And some are just horror fanatics that grew up watching other hosts and being into it. And I guess you have to be a certain extrovert to want to get up there and do this stuff. Especially, like I say, with Creepy Cock Movie Time, you've got the guys get up. They're sort of the classic horror hosts where you throw all the makeup on and do crazy stuff. And so it's really, sometimes you're an entertainer and you get into it. Sometimes you're just a fan and you get into it. Like Miss Misery, you talk about her, she was making and presenting independent films around the Bay Area, and she still does that. But in doing that and hosting the independent film shows, she got into the horror business. So sometimes you just kind of find your way there, and sometimes you plot your course and head that way.
That's cool. So next Saturday night, 7 p.m. at the Ball Theater on East 14th Street in San Leandro, the Horror Hall of Fame Award and the Psychotronic Film Show, BayAreaFilmEvents.com. You can find more event information, BayAreaFilmEvents.com. And Bob, what's always that I know that probably the high point of Bay Area Film Events was the series of Godzilla films that you did at the Castro, because you had everything and everybody. What's the second biggest thing that you remember that from the things that you've done that you've been thinking are extra special?
Yeah, thinking back, wow, we've been doing this for 10 years and we peaked in our second or our first. So thinking about, not counting the stuff we did with the San Francisco Giants, we did, right after Godzilla Fest, we did Ultramania. Had about 400 or 500 people in the theater there for a bunch of Ultraman TV shows and an Ultraman movie, and we had a couple guests from Japan, one of the designers of the Ultraman characters, and then Shinichi Wakasa, who built all the Godzilla suits in the 2000s. And we also did a James Bond show where we had Richard Kiel, who played Jaws in Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker. He was there as our guest. And that was big just because he was like 7'5". We also had a Beatles show over in San Francisco, which we did it was the 40th anniversary of their final concert at Candlestick Park. And we got it, we had, I think it was Mayor Newsom at the time, proclaim it Beatles Week in San Francisco. And we did a proclamation over on Pier 39 outside of the Hard Rock Cafe with the Sun Kings, the Beatles tribute band, playing. And then we had a weekend of Beatles festivities. And, we did a couple feature shows. We did the premiere of the Ray Harryhausen documentary. That was a lot of fun. We had Phil Tippett and Dennis Murin from ILM there. And that was the U.S. premiere of it, so that was a lot of fun.
So more fun coming next Saturday night, 7 p.m. at the Ball Theater, BAL Theater in San Leandro. The Psychotronic Film Show and Horror Hall of Fame Award, Bay Area Film Events putting it on. And thanks, Bob. Have you gotten any peek at the brand new Godzilla movie?
Just the trailers and the clips that have leaked out. But so far, I got to say, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I had a lot of reservations back in '98 when that one came out, and it came out and it was terrible. But I think Legendary learned from that. Not that they made that, but I think they learned from other people's mistakes. And I think Toho Productions Toho Studios kind of learned from that too, and they have a little more control over this one. And Gareth Edwards is, he's a talented director. He did Monsters, the little independent film, for like $30,000 or something. Now he's got, millions of dollars to spend on Godzilla. So it looks good. I'm really looking forward to it. So we're going to try to, a few of us are going to try to make a big midnight show viewing of it on the 15th, and hopefully we'll come out pleasantly surprised.
Cool. Well, it'll be a great surprise to one horror host next Saturday night who wins the Horror Hall of Fame award, and Sci-Fi Bob will also be at the Ball Theater playing some Psychotronic film clips. So thanks, Bob, and good luck with next Saturday night.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. This is 89.7 KFJC and the Norman Bates Memorial Soundtrack Show.